In this video, we're going to use a calf raise as an assessment to see what your calf strength is like and how this might be affecting what's happening up higher in the chain. So we can think of a calf raise as our propulsion or push off of the ground to move us forward. We need that propulsion and concentric contraction to give our foot and ankle and calf a good place to then eccentrically lengthen from. But as I mentioned in this video, we're just going to look at the concentric contraction and then start to tap into a little bit of the eccentric lowering. But then we need to think about other videos for going further into more pronation mechanics. So in a calf raise, what we want to see is, do they have the ability to raise straight up and lower straight back down? To help identify this, and magnify it, we can scoot up nice and close to a wall. So getting a couple inches away from a wall, and you can have fingertips here to kind of take away balance challenges and really just isolate the strength at this point in time. And I'm going to keep my knees soft, and do have the ability to lift straight up and then lower straight back down. As I'm doing this, that calf muscle is pulling my heel bone up, and then it's lowering that heel bone down. So that heel should be going straight vertically up and down with it. Now, sometimes you get people here and all of a sudden they're frozen and can't go anywhere, because what they've been doing is, in order to get up, they've maybe been doing more of a horizontal movement rather than a vertical movement up and down. With that horizontal movement, they might be kind of pulling themselves forward with their hip flexors or with the front of their shin muscle, kind of pulling that arch forward. They might sway those hips forward and lean that back. They might move their whole body forwards and back. And you can see how that can affect further up in the chain. It might be someone who then has hip flexor tension because they're kind of pulling themselves forward more with the front versus being able to push with the back. It might be someone that has back discomfort as they're always kind of arching their back to go forward versus being able to stay connected here and pushing again from that posterior chain. It might be someone that has stress and strain through their diastasis, because if every step they take, they're kind of thrusting themselves forward, that's lengthening that fascia there. That can also affect that stack of that rib cage over our pelvis and our diaphragm pelvic floor mechanics and the load that goes on through our pelvic floor. So a lot of things can be happening because of that lack of calf strength. Now, as you're going to do that, you're also paying attention to their toes. Are they death gripping in their toes? Or are they able to keep them nice and relaxed and really drive more of that movement from the base of their met heads, from their big toe all the way down to their pinky toes? That's where those toes connect into the foot with it. Do they come up and do they use momentum, or can they do it slowly with control, actually using those calf muscles, looking at the bulk of their calf muscle bellies on the back of their calves as they come up and then lowering as they come down. So now, speaking of coming down, we want to see that again, they maintain that vertical heel movement as they go down. Do they tend to collapse in or roll out? Do they come up and then kind of rock back? Do their knees straighten back as they come back? So as they're doing it, those knees are soft and maintaining that same knee bend, whether you're going up or coming down. So we don't want to see those knees bending more as they come up or straightening more as they go to come back down. That's isolating more of the movement at the foot and ankle by keeping that knee steady, which is where we're looking to have those mechanics happen from. Now, this is testing with both legs. We want to progress into what happens on the single leg with repetition and under load. So as I go to do a single leg, I can look at what happens in my left foot compared to my right foot. I can look at happens on one leg versus two legs. Am I able to maintain all that same form and quality with each repetition, no matter if I'm on my left or right leg or one leg or two legs, okay? We also want to see what happens over time. So as I go into more repetitions of 15 or 20, am I able to maintain those same mechanics, or do things start to kind of fall apart? These muscles have to work over a lot of repetitions, all right? So we really need to challenge them in our assessment and in our training to see what happens when things get fatigued. Now, with going to one leg, we're also opening up another can of worms of what's happening up in our pelvis, because it's requiring the ability to stabilize here in our pelvis. And so, you might have to look at, okay, yes, what's happening in that foot and ankle, but also what's happening in that hip strength and stability to be able to hold everything steady. If my hip goes to collapse down, that's going to affect how I'm loading through my foot, just like how I'm loading through my foot is going to affect what's happening in my hips and the position of my hips. Now, with adding a weight, we want to, again, hold a weight externally, see what happens when we go to one leg, up and down. Are we able to maintain that straight up and down, not scrunch? Is it the same on left or right? And again, under repetitions. Adding the weight is going to be particularly important for individuals who are looking to get back into impact and running, where we're having to manage heavier loads and develop more power coming out of movements. But hopefully this has given you a little bit of insight into looking at the calf raise as an assessment tool, as well as a treatment or exercise prescription for somebody to help them improve what's happening in their foot and ankle. As I mentioned, this is just looking at that calf. There can be more going on in that midfoot and toes even that can affect that calf raise, but that's another discussion for another video. And so this can kind of get things started. And again, with that lowering down, that's the beginning of that eccentric control of that calf, which is needed for then further progression into pronation and setting that foot up for success for taking equal distribution of load through that foot that then also affects how we push off, and equal distribution of load in that foot, which affects how we load and lengthen through those hips.